It's Friday, July 1. In the headlines, the Prime Minister says his administration is sensitive to Jamaicans' financial struggles. 8.2% economic growth for fiscal year 2021-2022. Regionally, National Security Minister in St. Kitts denies passport allegation. And further afield, Ketanji Brown Jackson sworn in as Associate Justice. In sports, Jamaican hurdler Rochelle Clayton clocks season's best. This is the news on PBC Jamaica. I am Simone Absalom Gale. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says his administration is working to ensure the nation survives the impact of the rising global energy and food prices.
So far, the Jamaican economy under my administration has withstood several shocks and have withstood them very well. I understand the mood of the country. I understand how the minimum wage earner is feeling. I understand how people feel when they see their electricity bill and how upset they must be. I understand. But this too will pass. And it will pass if we ensure that our finances of our country remain robust and stable.
Speaking at an event this week, he explained that the government is aware of the significant impact of these economic shocks on Jamaicans with fixed income, minimum wage, and low-income earners.
It is clear that the entire world is convulsed in great difficulties as it relates to, one, the volatility in energy prices and the constant increase in energy prices, and food security and the increased cost of food. It is having a generally devastating impact on economies and societies right across the world. Jamaica is no different, and we have not been spared. The impact that this has had on persons who are on fixed income, persons who are minimum wage earners, low income earners, it has been significant. The government is very much sensitive to this, very much aware of this. And we have been making deliberate and instrumental efforts to ensure that we are able to transfer cushioning support to those who are vulnerable and in need.
He was speaking at the Isratech Jamaica Limited Superstore opening in Mandeville this week. According to Isratech Jamaica's Facebook page, the company specializes in waterworks and energy solutions for agricultural, municipal, industrial, commercial, and residential purposes.
We would also in Jamaica like to join the Ocean Acidification Alliance, so we are happy to join in.
We would be honored to have you. That's so wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
The announcement was made by Senator Matthew Samura, Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, following an interactive dialogue at the United Nations Ocean Conference in Lisbon, Portugal, where he co-chaired with the United States Special Envoy for Climate, Secretary John Kerry. Mr. Samura says Jamaica is concerned about the ocean's health as this plays a critical role in the island's economic activity, namely tourism, shipping and fisheries.
Sea level rise threatens our coasts. We have experienced significant beach erosion over the years, particularly along our southern and eastern coasts. The world famous Helcha Beach is virtually no more. Ocean acidification and deoxygenation is also a threat to the health of our natural coastal defenses. That is our coral reefs, seagrass beds, and mangrove forests. Hence, it is important for Jamaica, as well as those countries most vulnerable to the impacts of climate change, to continue to advocate for a significant decrease in global greenhouse gas emissions in order to ensure the global temperature target of 1.5 degrees Celsius rise is met.
Jamaica has committed to increasing its marine protected area by 2%. And Mr. Samura noted that the government would be pursuing climate change legislation.
We have declared the Black River land and seascapes, approximately 270 square kilometers, under the country's principal environmental legislation. And we will declare the Pedro Keys and surrounding waters, which is a further 882 square kilometers, as a protected area in July 2022. This will allow us to achieve the target we had originally set ourselves. It should be noted that approximately 13% of our marine environment is now declared protected under the law. This includes special fishery conservation areas, commonly referred to as fish sanctuaries, which has assisted the replenishment of the country's fish stock. Additionally, the country is in the process of finalizing protected area legislation under our primary environmental legislation and will be working on primary protected areas legislation this year.
The alliance was formed by the US, Canada, Chile, Nigeria and France with the aim of working to support the inclusion of ocean health and ocean acidification, mitigation, adaptation and resilience strategies in international climate agreements. The UN has set 10 ocean-related targets to be achieved over this decade as part of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says the Reestablished Nuclear Medicine Division at the University Hospital of the West Indies will improve the diagnosis and management of non-communicable diseases, including cancers and cardiac diseases. He made the comment while addressing the opening ceremony on Thursday. The Reestablished Nuclear Medicine Division has been retrofitted with state-of-the-art single-photon emission computed tomography, SPECT, computed tomography CT, which will provide critical and advanced diagnostic capabilities for a range of disorders. SPECT CT scan provides true 3D information to analyze the functions of internal organs for early diagnosis and treatment of conditions such as cardiac problems and cancer. It can diagnose and track the progression of cancer that has spread to the bones and other affected areas of the body. The facility was established through the collaborative effort of the UHWI, Ministry of Health and Wellness, the Planning Institute of Jamaica, and the International Atomic Energy Agency. Parliamentary review of the Jamaica Teaching Council Bill continues. The bill seeks to ensure all persons who teach are licensed and registered to do so and covers individuals in private and public settings. Representative of private tutors and homeschooling parents, Maurice Saunders, told members of the committee many instances in which neighbors conduct summer school or older children act as tutors, and these practices have been successful and should not be interfered with.
Not to interfere in the arrangements that they make privately with students and parents for private extra lessons. Let us look a little bit at the background to the issues and the problems. So we have the issues, and you have heard the recommendation. That is the short of it. But as I listened to this debate, to the discussion going on, I felt moved. I gave it more thought, and more ideas came to me.
Mr. Saunders, who's also an attorney, says the restrictions the bill places on extra lessons by untrained teachers could also breach the constitutional right to freedom of expression, thought, and exchange of ideas.
Whether the requirements of the Act, when contemplated against the background of constitutional freedoms and rights, infringe against any of the freedoms of the teacher, or the parents, or the child. Let me just pause to say, I've been speaking of child, but there are mature students in tertiary institutions who also seek, get, and benefit from extra tutoring in a private arrangement. I'm speaking of those also. Even if you do not share the view that there are or maybe some infringements, we are convinced that this requirement in this context is contrary to the spirit. Let me emphasize that. So we're not saying with any certainty, we can't say with any certainty, that this involves infringement of the Charter of freedoms and rights, but the whole spirit of it.
But Member of Parliament Natalie Campbell Rodriguez disagrees with the suggestion that persons who homeschool children should not be required to be licensed.
Of course, all teachers are licensed. And then for tutors, post-primary, because I'm 100% against untrained teachers teaching at the primary level and early childhood. So anything primary and early childhood, I am 100% against untrained persons in those areas, because that is when our children learn the basics of learning more than anything else. And to have an untrained person, I think is wrong. But let us talk now about high school and above. I believe you should have the certification where you can show your card, I'm a trained teacher. And you have another certification or another card which says, I am a tutor.
National Summer School will get underway on July 4. The Ministry of Education and Youth's 4-week program, which ends on July 28, is free of cost to students. National Literacy Coordinator Dr. Andre Hill says students from all grades at the primary and secondary levels who wish to attend will be accommodated. The lessons will be delivered using 2 modalities, online and face-to-face. Dr. Hill says that teachers and administrators must use the performance data to recommend students for either modality. Online service providers who have been approved for the delivery of the summer school program are Learning Hub Online, Edufocal Limited, and One-on-One Educational Services. PAHO Director of Health Emergencies, Dr. Serko Ugarte, suggests some countries have left the suppression of COVID-19 to individuals. He warns that while countries enjoy a relaxation of public health measures, the pandemic is not yet over.
The responsibility is clearly shared among individuals and the corresponding authorities at all levels in the countries. So in that regard, it is a health issue, but also it is a social and economical issue. So the responsibility of taking decisions on adjusting the public health measures, particularly because we are almost 2.5 years in the pandemic, need to be looked at the social, economical, and health implications, of course. And there are several indications that will inform those decisions.
In the business report, we take a brief look at Statin's latest economic report, and we have the usual market update. Danita Rodney is at the business desk.
The Statistical Institute of Jamaica, Statin, reports that the economy grew by 8.2% for the fiscal year of 2021 to 2022 compared to 2020 to 2021. In a statement on Thursday, Statin indicated that the March quarter outturn was driven by 8.9% and 0.4% growth in the services and goods-producing industries, respectively. The institute advised that economic activity was positively impacted by easing COVID-19 containment measures, including the withdrawal of the disaster risk management order during the period. Since 1985, Reestablished Jamaica Limited has steadily built an impressive suite of products and services for applications in the agricultural, water, and energy sectors. On Wednesday, June 29, they officially opened the Reestablished Jamaica Limited Superstore in Mandeville. In a statement online, Prime Minister Andrew Holness says that it signals investor confidence in the economy even against the background of the pandemic and other geopolitical shocks. Now for your market updates. In foreign exchange trading for Thursday, June 30, the US dollar sold for an average of $151.55. The Canadian dollar ended trading at $118.75. The pound sterling traded for $184.35, and the euro sold for an average of $162.53. The following reflects the movement of the JSE indices in Thursday's trading session. The JSE index advanced by 1,152 points to close at over 300,000 units. The junior market index advanced by 38 points to close at over 4,000 units. The combined market index advanced by 1,427 points to close at over 300,000 units, and the All Jamaican Composite Index advanced by 1,350 points to close at over 400,000 units. Overall market activity resulted from trading in 105 stocks, of which 55 advanced, 37 declined, and 13 traded firm. Stocks advanced for 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited, 138 Student Living Jamaica Limited Variable Preference, and Access Financial Services Limited. Stocks declined for 1834 Investments Limited, AMG Packaging and Paper Company Limited, and Berger Paints Jamaica Limited. Trading firm were Caribbean Assurance Brokers Limited, Caribbean Flavors and Fragrances Limited, and Carreras Limited. The following companies represent the overall volume leaders: Barita Investments Limited with over 21 million units, Dollar Financial Services Limited, and Pulse Investments Limited with over 4 million units. In regional stocks in Trinidad and Tobago, Coleco Investment Fund was the volume leader with 150 shares, followed by Calypso Macro Index Fund with 100 shares being traded. On the Barbados Stock Exchange, Government of Barbados Bond Series B was the volume leader with over 60,000 shares, followed by Goddard Enterprises Limited, which traded over 4,000 shares. In regional business, the government of Antigua has revised its forecast for economic growth in light of the impact of the global inflationary pressures. More from ABS News.
Recovery has been strong. Unfortunately, we've had to deal with the escalation in food and fuel prices. So there has been an escalation in inflation, which unfortunately will reduce the growth that we projected. So, in opposed to the 6-7% that we expected this year, we see growth maybe reduced to 4-5%.
Inflation has been triggered by developments in global supply chains, made worse by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Fuel prices in particular have jumped significantly. A gallon of gasoline has gone from $12.50 in March to $17.50 as of June. Adjustments to petroleum prices in the country depend on prices on the global market. West Indies Oil Company has indicated that while crude oil prices are not as high as they were years ago, the prices of refined products such as gasoline and diesel have been hiked by refiners who are taking a much bigger bargain.
In market data for oil prices rose about 3%, recouping most of the previous session's declines as supply outages in Libya and expected shutdowns in Norway outweighed expectations that an economic slowdown could dent demand. Brent crude futures were up $3.03 to $112.06 a barrel, and West Texas Intermediate crude gained $2.84 to $108.60 a barrel. And that was the business report on PBC Jamaica. I'm Danita Rodney.
In regional news, St. Lucia is working on a new vessel information system that promises to help expedite rescue and search missions at sea. It is expected to roll out before year-end. We hear more from DBS Television.
The Fisheries Department has been working with a few agencies, including the Fisher Folk Cooperatives, to introduce a new vessel information system. It is a device that will be installed in fishing vessels to allow quick contact with land-based agencies should there be any incident at sea that requires rescue or search operations.
It will allow agencies to be able to support them if there is any incident at sea, or where we get information that they may be missing, or we get information that they need rescue or support. We can be able to work with various agencies to support quick finding of the vessel in that sense. So the device is actually supported by Digital St. Lucia, and the Ministry of Agriculture is working with the cooperatives in particular to help bring this initiative to life.
The announcement coincides with Fishermen's Feast celebrations held annually on June 29th. This year's theme is Collective Action for Safe and Resilient Caribbean Fisheries. Fisher folk the world over serve a pivotal role to national development as their trade contributes to food security.
In Grenada, Prime Minister and Minister of Finance Dickon Mitchell says the new cabinet of ministers reflects the campaign promises made to Grenadians while on the campaign trail. Ministers received their instruments of appointment Thursday evening in the presence of scores of citizens who attended the ceremony at the National Stadium.
The men and women that will command the various ministries have been named. Now, this is what the country's parliament would look like from tomorrow, following the swearing-in ceremony for the ministers who will man the different ministries. First up, we have Prime Minister Honorable Dickon Mitchell. He will serve in his capacity as Minister for Finance, National Security, Home Affairs, Public Administration, Information and Disaster Management. He is followed by Honorable Joseph Andel, who will serve in his capacity as Foreign Affairs Minister, Trade and Export Development. Tevin Andrew, Minister for State, or Minister for Carriacou and Petite Martinique Affairs and Local Government. Honorable Dennis Cornwall, he will serve as Minister for Infrastructure, Public Utilities, Physical Development, Civil Aviation and Transportation. Honorable Ron Redhead, he will serve as Minister of State with responsibility for youth and sport in the Ministry of Youth and Sport. Karine Zinel James, Minister for Climate Resilience, the Environment and Renewable Energy. Honorable Philip Telesford, Minister for Social and Community Development, Housing and Gender Affairs. Honorable Andy Williams, he will serve as Minister for Mobilization, Implementation and Transformation. Honorable Lennox Andrew, he will serve as Minister for Economic Development, Planning, Tourism and ICT. Senator David Andrew, he has been appointed as Minister for Education, Youth and Sport. Senator Jonathan Lacrette, Minister for Health, Wellness and Religious Affairs. Senator Adrian Thomas, he will serve as Minister of State in the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries and Cooperatives. Senator Claudette Joseph, she has been appointed as Attorney General, Minister with responsibility for legal affairs, labor and consumer affairs. Senator Gloria Thomas, Minister of State in the Ministry of Social Development and Gender Affairs, in the Ministry of Social and Community Development and Gender Affairs. Quince Britton, he has been appointed as Senator in the Parliament of Grenada. The swearing-in ceremony of these new ministers took place just a few minutes ago here at the Kirani James Athletic Stadium. This swearing-in ceremony took place 1 week following the June 23rd general election.
Ministry of National Security in St. Kitts and Nevis is dismissing all allegations contained in a viral voice note that foreign nationals arrived on the island with new St. Kitts and Nevis passports.
The voice note alleged that on Saturday, June 25th, at the RLB International Airport, a charter plane arrived with 71 Haitian nationals, all of whom had St. Kitts Nevis passports. The inference is that these persons came on the island to vote. In a statement from the Ministry of National Security on Wednesday, it said the person on the voice note was very critical of immigration officers for allegedly allowing these 71 Haitians into the Federation. But the ministry said the Immigration Department has advised that no private charter with Haitians holding St. Kitts and Nevis passports arrived at any time on the weekend. In its statement, the ministry said, quote, 6 Haitians arrived on Saturday, June 25th on Sky High, and none had St. Kitts Nevis passports. They all held Haitian passports and all had visas that had been duly granted, end quote. The ministry continued that it strongly condemns, quote, such false and politically malicious statements, end quote, and urged persons involved to refrain from circulating such statements that are designed to mislead the public and to, quote, seek to obtain cheap political points, end quote. Several allegations were made in recent times that non-nationals were being brought into the country with the intention of having them to vote in the upcoming elections. This is the first public denouncement of one such allegation.
Public Safety Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, Stedroy Benjamin, says it is time for a revamping of the existing legislation governing the police force. More from ABS TV.
The existing legislation governing the police force was passed in 1957. The Public Safety Minister says there is time for a revamp of that act, One of the changes will be aimed at improving transparency and to provide avenues for redress for aggrieved members of the public.
We want to show that this police force is a force of order, a police force that carries duty without fear or favor, malice or ill will. And those persons, I dare say, who have reasons to complain, you will have an independent body to which you can make your complaints.
It's a discussion which has been mooted before, but it's clear the Public Safety Minister wants to see this legislation brought to fruition quickly. He expects the amended Police Act will be in place by the end of July this year. The Attorney General is also reaffirming the move to separate the Fire Department from the police force. He explains a new Fire Rescue and Services Act will also be taken to Parliament, replacing one enacted in the colonial era.
It is my duty, it's my honor, it is my distinct privilege to lead that discussion in the separation. It's only a matter of time, Mr. Commissioner. That will happen, it has to happen, it must take place.
Further afield, Ketanji Brown Jackson was sworn in on Thursday, June 30, as an Associate Justice to the United States Supreme Court, making history as the first black woman on the highest court in the nation. The 51-year-old joins the court as its 116th member amid a time of heightened scrutiny of the court over recent decisions and the American public's low confidence in the Supreme Court. In April, she was confirmed 53-47 by the Senate to the High Court after a series of contentious hearings where Republicans tried to paint her as soft on crime and Democrats praised her judicial record. During the confirmation hearing, she vowed to be fair and impartial as a justice in deciding the law. In sports, 2019 World Championship bronze medalist Rochelle Clayton followed up her third place at the National Championships with a new season's best of 53.90 seconds to take second in the 400 meters hurdles at Thursday's Stockholm Diamond League meeting. The event was won by Femke Bol in 52.27 seconds. Clayton will join Tokyo Olympic finalist and national champion Geneve Russell and Cheyenne Salmon in Oregon later this year. The World Championships will run from July 15 to July 24. Bermudian goalkeeper Nathan Trott has signed a contract extension with West Ham United until the summer of 2024 with a further 2-year option. The English Premier League club made the confirmation on Wednesday. Trott, who has appeared for England at the under-20 level, made his first team debut for the Hammers in an FA Cup third-round win over Doncaster Rovers in January last year. He will continue his development under the guidance of goalkeeper coach Xavier Valero. Trott has had a previous loan spell with AFC Wimbledon to go with 8 England under-20 caps and 6 appearances for West Ham in the under-23 Professional Development League. Former reggae boy Jason Newell has been appointed English Championship outfit Bristol's new first-team coach just days after leaving a similar role with League One side Charlton Athletic. Newell admitted the opportunity to reunite with Nigel Pearson proved too good to turn down. The 45-year-old played under Pearson during the manager's brief 3 months in charge of Southampton in 2008. Newell was promoted to first-team coach at Charlton in April 2021 after performing his role as senior coach of the club's academy for 8 years. He joined their academy coaching staff in 2013, managing the under-21s and then the under-23s before taking up the role with the men's first team. And that's the news on PBCJ. Thank you so much for watching.